Greetings, fellow Cosmoteers, Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of a new series playing Cosmoteer, Starship Architect, and Commander. If you would like to skip the overview, please use YouTube chapters. Welcome everybody to the April miniseries marathon. This was determined by my Patreon patrons in a poll on Patreon. And before I start, I'll just read you a little gist of the game, so you just have sort of an understanding of what this is like. So this game is a game where you design and simulate a starship of your dreams, command it in epic battles, and manage your crew while exploring a dangerous galaxy. Fully customize your ship's shape and floor plan, choosing where to put individual modules, including weapons, engines, hallways, crew quarters. This is just a beginner's plays series. I have some hours logged in it, but it's a pretty complicated game. And of course, I'm only streaming it today, and it will air on YouTube. So what is this game like for a comparison? It's a bit like FTL or Star Sector or Vorion or Space Engineers and a whole bunch of others. And we are going to start right now. So I'm going to do a career mode. The difficulty I'm going to play on is going to be standard. So there is a bunch of different ones where enemies do more damage, you deal less damage, so on and so forth, or you're just invulnerable. Kid gloves. And then economic difficulty, I'm also just going to be an architect, which is very normal across the board. There's a bunch of advanced game settings for galaxy size and crew fame ratio. Also to change if you hate exploring or salvaging. I'm not going to be touching any of this. And then this is the starter ship that you kick off in. And I am going to pick just the Model S. It's very basic, and that's all we will need. I'm also going to be going over a lot of the tutorial mechanics, but again, I'm not an expert. I will try to explain the game mechanics as best I can, though. So right from the very start, let's go over a little bit of the UI. So right here, we have the mini-map. This is going to show you what's around you. Things are color-coded, whereas white is like neutral, green or blue, and red being hostile. Sort of the same space scheme. If we zoom out, you can see this is the local solar system. And if we click this button here, the gear obviously is settings. And the tutorial and codex, I would say, has quite a lot of the game tutorials that you're going to need to play. It's a complex game. But the second button here is the galaxy. So this is a brand new galaxy because this was a random seed. And this galaxy is controlled by 4 different factions. So I will quickly explain the 4 factions so that you know what they are. You've got the Monolith Corporation. The TLDR is it's a massive mining corporation. And they are, I believe, the blue. Yes. Then you have Fringe. Fringe Resistance is sort of a bunch of independent worlds that don't have a government, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to remain independent and not get squished by the other factions. You have the Cabal of Sol, which is the sort of the Earth worshippers, I guess. And then you have the Centauri Imperium, which is the most militaristic. So you've got like miners, sort of classic mix, scrappy independents, and the militarists, which would be the TLDR. And then all of the individual systems have a danger rating. So we're starting in Lintress, I guess, and it has a danger rating 1 to 3. And as you expand and build a better ship or build a better fleet, you can venture into more dangerous territories. Just to give you a point of reference, if a level 1 ship tries to take on like a level 5 ship, you're going to get squished immediately. Here is your career log where you have like missions and you can track them. And then also your fame. So fame controls... Fame is more or less who will join your crew. So it's important to become famous so that you can have a larger crew. And then your rep with the 4 factions. Here is a button that allows you to build a new ship from scratch. We're not going to be doing that, not for a while. But the game is multiplayer and does allow you to control fleets, not just an individual ship. Down in the bottom left, we have build and repair. So build and repair allows you to fix things that break or make changes. And there's also so there's 2 ways of doing this. There's one where you do it live and you can like move things around immediately and control Z is like undo. And then there's a blueprint mode. So if you want to dream big and plan big things, it's this button here, or Shift B, and allows you to like plan, you know, huge expansions or whatever. And it will tell you how expensive it is to afford. And it allows you to sort of set a goal for yourself of like, oh, I want to redesign this ship from lasers to railguns, and it's going to cost 110,000 plus these resources or whatever. Also in the ship editor, we've got redo, undo. This allows you to load pre-existing ships from designs. It also allows you to load a ship from an image, which is really cool. And then we've also got select tool, so you can select things. Delete tool, which deletes parts of your ship. This is a mirror image, so you can mirror both sides, which is kind of nice. And then in terms of the building, you have corridors, which people walk in, and doors, which people use. And I'll go more into shipbuilding once I get a little bit later in the game, where it matters. Essentially, you have a few different types of weapons. You've got lasers, and lasers also then level up to mining lasers, which is good for mining, and then ion beams, which is sort of endgame lasers. For ballistics, you have a mix of regular kinetics, like cannons, deck cannons, and then missiles, and also railguns. So there's those three, and then flak cannons is point defense. In terms of defenses, you have point defense, fire extinguishers, armor, shields, etc. You can see them all here. And then thrusters and cockpit. So more control rooms allow you to control more guns and more devices on your ship. And then larger thrusters, so on and so forth. Then you have crew quarters. Crew is actually really important in this game to control your crew. Because a poorly crewed vessel dies very quickly in combat. For the most part, crew is going to be responsible for manning the guns and then bringing power to all of your components on your ship. So, if you don't have a lot of crew bringing power to your shield generator, for instance, well, ripperoni, you're dead, because your shields will go down and you'll get blown up. Then power. Small, medium, large reactors. Also, the larger versions of things are almost always more efficient and cheaper bang for your buck than the smaller versions. So a small reactor costs the equivalent of like 3 small reactors and 1 medium reactor are about the same cost equivalents, or not power equivalents, but in terms of cost, you'll save 2/3 of the cost buying a medium reactor. So essentially, if you can afford a larger one, and this is true for like lasers and shields and power and kind of everything. If you can afford to go big, go big. There are some caveats though, because really big ships are hard to maneuver. Then there's the concept of production, and I know I'm a little bit in the way here. But production allows you to make things, for instance, making processors or diamonds or steel or coils. And you can build factory ships and do mining. Then there's storage, that's very straightforward. And then there's strange utility stuff. Exterior lights and headlights are cosmetic. Fire extinguishers help you put out fires. I'll talk more about that later. You got mining lasers, tractor beams, which help you collect stuff. Sensors, which expands your sensor range. Hyperdrive beacons, which allows you to, and this is brand new in this version that released like yesterday. Hyperdrive beacons allow you to put a beacon on your ship to hyper jump from ship to ship, allowing you to coordinate attacks or collect your fleet and explosive charges. And then there is structures and armor. So structures are just sort of scaffolding for you to be able to place stuff. All right. Well, that's the building. Then you've got the paint palette, so you can just change how you want to paint your ship. Very straightforward. So if we wanted to be like, I don't know, space camo. Not that there's camo in space. We could do that. Then there's crew. So this is the amount of roster that we have. We've right now have 6 people. And I'm not going to be renaming them because we're going to go through a lot of them. The really important thing is here, squads mode. So right now we only have 1 crew quarter. And this right here is like a really poorly designed ship, might add. But 1 crew quarter. But eventually what we'll do is we'll have a bunch of crew quarters and they can be specialized. So you can say, oh, this crew quarter, just make sure the thrusters are powered. Or this crew quarter, just make sure the shields and the guns are manned. So on and so forth. And it allows you to design your ship in a way that is efficient. Because one of the biggest things in combat is these little yellow dots here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. What that is power. And when you run out of power, your shields go down, or your lasers stop shooting, or your thrusters stop working. So it's really important that you have crew that work in a sort of designated confined area, because if you have crew picking up power cells and running them across your entire ship, they're not going to arrive quickly, and they're going to die. This is resource management. This is more for once you have factories, but it also shows you what's in your storage when you salvage, when you mine or salvage ships. And then the last button is comms, where you can hail things. So I can hail this station here, and I'll be doing that in just a second. That's most of the UI, I think. Oh, and one other thing, this little dot here allows you to set custom markers. So if I'm like, hey, there's a shipwreck here, I can mark it down for later. And then if you want to get rid of it, you just right-click it, boom, it's gone. Very useful tool. All right, let's take our first combat missions. And then also, I'm going to talk a little bit about ship design right now, because I want to redesign this ship for it to be a little bit better. So some of the big things is walk speed. Now, I was talking about the efficiency of ships. Your people, your crew, walk at a normal speed on corridors, but in rooms, they walk at partial speed. So if you hold left alt, you can see cruise speed 50%, cruise speed 50%, cruise speed 50%. The TLDR is essentially, you really, really, really don't want your ship to be just a ship full of rooms. You want corridors so that people can move around efficiently. So I'm going to redesign this a little bit in the blueprint editor, where I'm going to put the reactor core here, and then the cockpit here instead. I'm going to bring the... I'm going to bring these things down like this a bit so that they're less in the way. So now that there's a corridor around the entire structure. And then I'm also going to change... No, maybe that's all the changes I'll make for now. Yeah, I think that's all the changes are going to make for now. And this is going to help prioritize the shields and the lasers being closer to the reactor core. The other thing that I should have mentioned is the really important parts to protect your ship are the reactors and the cockpits. Without a reactor or without a cockpit, your ship goes boom. Usually you put these things as close to the center of your, of your ship as possible so that you don't go boom too easily. And then you also have fire extinguishers, and you have airlock hatches. I am actually going to make one little change. I'm going to put smaller bunks here and get rid of this bunk down there, and instead put a smaller bunk without the symmetry. Like that. Oh. Okay, hold on. Get rid of symmetry. That's what was going wrong. Okay. So, once you're done, you can also just hit the make it so. And what it will do is it will automatically build out whatever you had designated. So I'm just setting up the rooms, and I like it. So I'm just going to hit make it so. So the reason this is better, or at least different, is you have, in this case, you have, I need more power here and here. You've got power and crew a lot closer to the laser blasters. You got power immediately adjacent. The shield generator will be a lot easier to power that up. And then you've got one crew down here that can manage the thrusters. So if I go to the crew management here, I can assign this crew to manage the thrusters and the... actually, maybe just... Yeah, I'll do the thrusters and the steering. And then these crews will manage the guns on the side of the ship that they're in. And I like that design a lot better. It does leave the rear of the ship rather exposed, but that is not so much an issue early game. That becomes a far more larger of an issue once you attack like multiple enemies later in the game. This has, as you can see, the smaller bedrooms accommodate for only 2, whereas the 4-size bedroom accommodates for 6. So it's the same amount of roster, they're just redistributed a little bit better. So let's go and take our first mission. Start fighting. That is the priority. So here is some of the bounties, and I'm just going to accept them all. All the level 1s. I'm not going to accept the faction conflicts just yet, the deliveries, but I will also accept the exploration. So we have an absolute ton of bounties and exploration to do. So if you take a look at the map here, and I'll do a quick save. If you take a look at the map here, it will show you where the bounties are. So I'm just going to start off by going east, or whatever direction we want to call this. And we'll start fighting. And a lot of the fighting in this is just like clearing bounties and mining and clearing out asteroid fields and protecting stations. So the first contact I have here is just a random pirate. This quest, this little star here designates it that it's part of a quest. And this quest here is Pirate Hunter. So I need to eliminate 7 roving pirates that are just found randomly. Other things to mention is the time controls up here. So Control Q slows it down. We can go down all the way to 8th speed or all the way up to 8 speed. And you're going to be doing a lot of flying, so 8 speed is pretty reasonable to do. So once you're in combat here, you've got sort of sensor ranges and then also engagement ranges. So we're within the engagement range. And there's a bunch of different like fancy combat here where like I can, for instance, designate how far I want to be from the target. So sometimes you'll be fighting ships that want to like ram you with kinetic weapons and blow you up. But doing an attack holding, you can designate the engagement range. So if your weapons are really good close up or really good far away, you can set it up. Like kinetics are really good close up usually, and then like railguns or ion beams are longer range weapons and they're better far away. But that's sort of advanced controls. The simplest part is selecting your target. So this ship here has 4 forward-facing point defense. It has a reactor core here. It has reverse thrusters here. The small hyperdrive allows you to jump around, but that's not a sensitive part of the ship, nor is the crew quarters. So the easiest thing for me to blow up here is the small reactor core right in front, but we have to get through 2 blocks of armor to do it. And I will slow down time a little bit. So you can see the laser blasters now are being shot by my ship, which is up here. So you'll have crew take power cells and bring them to what needs to get powered, whether it's thrusters or blasters or shields. And then my shields are more or less doing a really good job of absorbing all the point defense. The really important thing is I don't want their point defense to get... I don't want to be so close to them that they're bypassing the shields, because it is possible for them to get so close that the shields are no longer going to work. And this crew here is keeping these shields powered. Right, you can see them bringing power from the reactor core to the shields. And we are just about blown up past one of their armor and structures, and now we're working on the second layer. So some engagements, it's going to be easiest to just shoot out their guns. So for instance, if this ship had just like one large cannon, the large cannon might have been my target to neutralize the damage that it can do to me. But since they have 4 little point defense, it's going to be easier just to go through their armor and blow up their reactor core. Oh, and I think we have another roaming pirate on the horizon, so I got to be careful about that. But they haven't, they pretty much haven't touched the ship at all. So here's an example. This thruster has not been powered. This thruster is running, is not getting powered fast enough. Essentially, the 2 people that live here aren't able to power up these 6 thrusters well enough. So if I was to make an improvement to the ship, it would be to maybe add 2 more crew to help out with the aft thrusters. It would be a reasonable change. And pretty much how you play is like, at least initially, you're just making small iterative improvements to your ship. Essentially like fine-tuning it. And then once you go up like a danger level, so like I can probably defeat things that are in the level 1 range, do a little fine-tuning, and I might be able to defeat things in the level 2 range. Level 3, as long as it's not a good counter, because there is a notion of like rocks, paper, scissors. So for instance, my ship has no point events. So if I was to fight a missile frigate, it would wreck me, because I really don't have any way to defend myself against missiles. But then sometimes what you end up doing is you want to like completely redesign your ship in some significant way, changing the types of weapons you use, or the armor you use, or whatever, and that you tend to use the big blueprint for. So we're about to blow up the reactor core, and that will disable the ship, turning into a husk. And there it goes. The crew is dead. And then I'm going to want to park myself pretty much in the middle of the debris field so that I can collect the stuff here. So if we hit G, which is gather, salvage, or mine, I can drag a square over the entire battle, and then the crew on the ship will use the airlock hatches to go outside and start collecting things like enriched uranium or coils. And not all things are worth the same. If you mouse over it will tell you. So like steel I can sell at 2 or 12 a piece. Coils is going to be more at 50. And then the enriched uranium that I grabbed is going to be a lot more. So this is Hyperium, which is like hyperspace fuel, 25 a piece. So not all things are equal. And then you can also break down their hull too. So this is a little segment of their hull of the ship I blew up, and we can sort of dismantle it for mostly steel. One thing you have to worry about when you're salvaging is to make sure that you don't have enemies rolling up on you. And if that happens, you can always hit the recall crew to bring everyone back inside your ship, so for you to be battle ready. And when you have a lot of when you've got a lot of crew, you can also tell some of them to never leave. So if I wanted, for instance, to have everybody opt in for salvaging, I can assign them to the storages, and then when it's time to loot things, they will leave the ship and do that. And in fact, I can even say, hey, like red shirts, let's edit your role for job priorities. So this is the priority. Operating is generally higher than supplying. But if I go over to storage, I can say, all right, I want, when I say to store things, I want you guys, everybody, to abandon ship and essentially just loot. I could also alternatively just turn off the things like the guns and to have them start to loot. And there's a finite amount of space, storage space that you've got here. So here is the crew breaking down sections of the hull of the enemy ship for the steel that it's worth. Cool. And then once everybody's back in, you won't have a red EVA symbol here, meaning that you're ready to go. So I'm going to return back to the station just because my hold is essentially full of stuff. Right, I only have one free spot here for some more stuff. But we have hypercoils, coils, hyper jumped fuel, uranium, which is material mostly used to build reactor cores, and then a whole bunch of steel. And it's really easy to sell stuff. Contact the station, go to trade, and then I can just dump them stuff. One thing I will add, though, is if you're trying to redesign your ship, it's better to have the materials that you need to redesign your ship in your hold, because buying them, selling them to the market and then buying them from the market is going to raise your cost. So for instance, if you have a redesign plan that requires like 100 steel, it's definitely a lot more efficient to just salvage something for 100 steel rather than to try to buy that amount of steel in the redesign. Can you also loot weapons and reactors? Not exactly. You loot basically the raw components. So for instance, a laser blaster is worth 32 steel and 12 coils. So you're going to loot some percentage of the steel and the coils from the broken laser blaster, but you're not going to get a laser blaster. You're going to get the materials used to make the laser blaster. So the uranium, the enriched uranium that I got came likely from their reactor core, what I salvaged off their core. But I'm not going to get like a whole reactor core from it. If you do leave the ships that you destroy mostly intact, you can also build on their ship and make it space-worthy and take it over. So if you're very careful about how you destroy ships and you're surgical about it, you can also just capture ships that way. So here is the first bounty. We arrive at the target area, and then the bounty's up here. Now, I haven't redesigned the crew yet, so as you can see, I still have a problem with the thrusters. But that's okay. So, one thing that you can see is because this standard thruster's down, you can see that this thruster is compensating for the thrust of this one so that I'm still flying straight and not spinning. The game does a really good job of like simulating thrust like that. Alright, so taking a look at this ship, this is one giant standard cannon. If I knock that out, this ship is basically just a floating husk of nothing. And I'll slow down time so you can witness the fight. Also worth noting, a lot of the times when you have a ship designed like this with one giant cannon, what they will try to do is they will try to get as close to you as possible to shove that cannon like behind your shields to do maximum damage. The AI on this ship is not trying to do that, but it's something to be cautious about. So we're closing to the engagement range that I had selected. Their standard cannon is knocked out. So you can see, to answer your question, after I destroy the standard cannon, we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 steel, some coils, and maybe a few ammo pieces that popped off as a result of destroying that cannon. And that would be what you can salvage. So now I'm trying to aim for their... Actually, you know what? Let's just aim for the cockpit and try to leave the reactor intact so you can salvage the reactor. Reactors are one of the more expensive components of a ship. So there we go. We destroy their hyperdrive, so you can see some Hyperium fuels. And then also hyper coils, which is worth a lot. So we're going to want to go back for that debris. And there we go. Their ship is dead. Now, if I wanted to take their ship over, and I don't have the materials to do this, I could build a cockpit here, and then like a crew hatch, and to transfer crew over to it to take it over. Alright, we're gonna salvage their ship as soon as it stops drifting. So far, I haven't had any damage done to my ship. Other things to note is this is recommended crew. So right now, and I had already sort of acknowledged that I needed more crew, right? But the game recommends that I have 9 crew. And I'm right around the recommended power. And then I'm got enough command points left over. I don't have tractor beams yet. Tractor beams do exist in the game, though. Let's fast forward time. Oop, I have... Is it coming towards me? Yep, alright, so at this point, I'm going to recall crew. I'm going to mark down that there's debris here. And there's sort of debris over here, too. Because I have a roaming pirate coming in. And then I can also issue a move command and hold down M to point my ship towards the incoming pirate so that my shields are facing front and I'm ready for the engagement because it looks like this pirate is coming in to fight me. All right, we just got our power up. So here we go. This one's going to be easy to destroy. It has laser blasters, but its cockpit is right in front, which is, well, a dumb design. Because it's gone. It's already gone. All right, I'm going to put another debris marker. Debris 3, where it went down. And then I'm back to the original husk because I want to break down the cartridge's reactor. So there is a little bit of the enriched uranium that we got from breaking down the reactor. And then I can delete the marker. And just sort of cleaning up the battlefield until my holds are full. Really? Another? All right. Another halt return. Because we have more enemies coming in. Man, I am popular. It might not be committing. These pirate hunters sort of wander around randomly, so they don't always commit to the fight. Better safe than sorry, though. The game's very unforgiving. If you enter a fight and you're not ready for it, and you have people like floating around in space, and you have like a half-crewed ship, oh, you're gonna be dead so fast. So my cargo bays are basically full. I don't really have space to put the fanged fighter in. So I'm going to start returning to Kulis's station to sell off what I've got while keeping an eye on this pirate to make sure it doesn't gank me. Hey, bud. It was very nice of them to donate their ship. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do a little bit of redesign, because I have had thruster problems. So I'm just going to replace the single quarter with a double. And that raises my potential crew up to 10. I'll tell this crew to manage the thrusters and the cockpit. All right, that looks good. And then I'm also going to put one more fire extinguisher in. Right there. So one of the reasons why you don't want too many doors is if things on your ship catch fire, fire only spreads through doors. So you would think adding a maximum amount of doors would be a good thing, but it isn't, because it makes your ship a lot more flammable, and also doors are kind of expensive. So building in a ton of doors is it's kind of an expensive endeavor. So one other thing I could do to this ship is to add more cargo, because I'm blowing up a lot of stuff, right? So might as well have the storage for it. So I added another cargo bay in the back, and I'm gonna just put a little bit of armor on it, not too much. In fact, let's drag the thruster block out just a little so that I can armor it up here as well. Just just a little bit of armor so that I'm not super exposed from the rear. And a tiny bit of armor up here. It's going to make the ship a little bit heavier and move less gracefully. And then the thruster blocks will be slightly further from the power. But ultimately, I think it's probably a good upgrade decision. You heard this has co-op? It has multiplayer, whether you want to fight or, you know, be friends with others. A little up to you. Yeah, I haven't played it multiplayer, though, so I don't know. I can't answer multiplayer questions. Alright, crew management. So you work the thruster blocks. And I think we're ready. We're ready to go back to the debris field. Once, Oh, you know what? I actually didn't hire any crew, so let me do that. I was wondering why we weren't moving. So to hire crew, the way to look at this is you have crew and how many beds you have. So I have room for 4, and they're costing 300 apiece. So I'll just hire max. I don't really care who the crew is. But then I need to halt to make sure that the new crew that I just hired, which are currently on the station, go and actually enter my ship. So you can see, if you zoom in on the station, you can see what the station has. Like, it has 3 diamonds, has like 6 processors, has some ores, it has some Hyperium fuel. The ships, the stations are just as destructible and just has the same sort of design as player ships. So now I have the additional crew to bring fuel to the thrusters. As you can see, we don't have thrusters that are down. So our top speed is a little bit higher. So after I get a little bit more money, I'm going to poll you guys about what next ship upgrade you want me to make, like a big one. So the Fanged Fighter, we'll break that one down. There's some debris down this way. And I'll just quickly check the debris path. At this point, there's probably not a lot of treasure left. The really expensive stuff would be the enriched uranium and hypercoils. That's what you're going to find off of the fights that are going to yield you the most money. But now that I have a lot larger of a cargo hold, I can take more fights. So I'll take a few more fights just to fill up my cargo, and then we'll do the first major ship design. I don't have a contract to deal with whatever that is, so I'm going to fly around it. Also, I don't know its danger rating, so it might be too hard for me. Alright, this is just another one of those large central deck gun, or a cannon. We'll isolate the cannon, knock it off, and then clean up the rest. Fire all the way back to the cockpit. There's also a few more roaming pirate hunters in the area. There was at least 2, so I got to keep my my guard up. So there's a debris field here. Hey, Hictus, thank you for the resub. Oh, and I sent this. It's already blown up, and I'm sending it flying. In fact, I missed a whole lot of resubbing. Cowley, Old Mamino, Klein, and Lunny for all the gifted subs. Catherine on for the resub too. Has it already been 14 months? Holy cow. So it did land a hit. It landed 1 shot on my armor here. Probably because the small shield generator's dome doesn't really protect this part of the thruster block because it's a little bit further out. So I could also work to redesign the thruster block when I do the larger redesign project. Do have a pirate hunter. I don't think it's coming at me. No. Passing by. Alright, halt. It's getting closer. Alright, it's going away now. And more pirate hunters. The fringe systems, which I'm currently in a fringe system, is a system that has sort of the highest percentage of pirates because it's not governed by a large governing body. It's a bunch of just independent stations. Oh, this is an interesting ship design. So this one has a disruptor. The disruptor is going to be problematic for my shields. Disruptors are... Well, I'll just read it. Fires bolts of electrical energy that deal little damage but can short-circuit enemy systems, causing them to lose power. Can penetrate shields while draining them. So I'm going to focus on their disruptor first as a target. Because as you can see, the disruptor is disrupting my shields and just brought them down. But then once the disruptor's taken care of, they're really only firing at me with point defense, so it wasn't like they had a high damage output possibility. And now that the disruptor's down, my shields are back up. So I'll just blow out their cockpit. And this thing also has a large thruster. This is probably a very fast ship that probably should have turned tail and run away from me. Poof. Alright, it did land a few shots, so it damaged a little bit of armor and damaged this laser blaster just a little bit. You can repair them individually by clicking, or just repair all down here if you have all of the material to repair everything at once. Alright, let's return home. I've got a few bounties fulfilled, and I can have you guys decide how to upgrade. Oh, look, when a roaming pirate is actually attacking the station. Cute. So this one is, again, rather decently armored, but its cockpit is right up front, and also the armor to the cockpit is already damaged. In fact, this thing is fairly damaged because it's been shot at by the station's defenses, I suspect. So I'm just going to try to take the cockpit out immediately. Well, no, maybe I'll go for Disruptor first, so my shields don't go down. Well, thank you for the bits. So far, my shields, they held out until just now. Now I'm getting my armor picked away. But their Disruptor's almost gone. There it goes. My shields are back up, so I won't be taking any additional damage. They only damaged an armor wedge, it's fine. And now I'm just going to shoot out their front armor and get to that cockpit. Fortunately, I'm right next to the station, so it's really easy to sell this stuff. I'm just about out of room, though. Yep. So I'm out of room. If I wanted to min-max it, what I could do is I could eject a stack of steel in lieu of looting the coils, but I'll just come back for this stuff. And our fame is leveled up. And the mission's complete. 15K. Not a bad haul. So, the first big upgrade. What weapons should I focus on? Use a mix, energy, projectile. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to Cosmoteer, which originally streamed live on Twitch April 15th. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below, but please keep in mind that this was a one-time only mini-series and also a beginner's plays, so I'm not really looking for gameplay tutorial and feedback help. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timer to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my gaming community, Rhadamant.com also has a link to Discord, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching, and a special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers that supported the miniseries, and viewers also like you that made it all the way to the credits and support the channel. So thank you so very much. I'll catch you in next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow Cosmoteers.